the day all my dreams come true. Can feel the spirit working its way through. Yes, this is the day. It's time to fly higher and high up in the sky. This is the day that the Lord has made. I will rejoice and be glad in it. One more time. This is the day that the Lord has made. I will rejoice and be glad in it.
Sound booth. Okay, they found me, so I found you. All right, welcome to West Valley Center for Spiritual Living. We are really excited to be here. We've got a lot of wonderful things going on. I'm not going to go over everything because there's too many things going on, which is very, very, very exciting. So all I want to say is we're feeding all of you in many different ways and not just with food. So I'm really glad that you're here. I do want to just take a moment, though, and I want to recognize Reverend Karen last week for the memorial service that she had for our community members, and it was such a beautiful, and simple is probably not the right word, but it was so simplistically done, but so beautifully done in the way that we honored each individual, the way that Reverend Karen honored each individual, and it was almost like I was like, wow, she knows a lot about these people. I think I need to get to know these people a little bit more. So anyway, so thank you, Reverend Karen. It was very, very beautiful. So a couple of quick announcements, but before I go into my announcements, we have a commercial break.
You ready? No. Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, start your engines. Hi, everyone. It's Julie
And Kendra.
your Gourmets for God goddesses, waving the green flag for another week of the only fundraiser you can eat.
Take a formation lap and ready yourselves for rolling start, because right now in Papke Hall, there are great events in all categories, including animals, games, self-pampering, and more. You don't want to drift on this huge selection.
We have pole position on events ready to go right now, so rev those engines and get started bidding.
Bidding begins today at after service, just kidding, after service in Papke Hall. Don't make any pit stops and no nerfing to get in line. See the newsletter or Gourmets for God section on the website www.wvcsl.com. Under About Us, click on Announcements and find Gourmets for God page for the event listing, but bidding can only be done in person.
There are no blind turns here. There's only one way to bid. You'll need to register in person, receive your bidder number, and a catalog. Once you have those, you're ready to take a hot lap around and place your bids on your favorite events.
Check your calendars before placing your bids, and don't forget to bid on separate lines for your spouse or friend to join you. The winning spots will go to the highest individual bids only. And remember, not showing up for an event or changing dates is a yellow flag on the event. Be sure to commit to the date when you bid.
There are events for every budget. All winning bids are financially binding, so roll on into Papke Hall for the best events that you won't want to pass up.
Be sure to check back each week to make sure that you're the front runner or there's no victory lap for you. Bidding ends and we wave the checkered flag on October 16th.
Get yourself out of the paddock and get behind the wheel. Place those bids early and often. Ready, set, race. Together, we are big for fun.
Okay, those were the Gourmet for Gods, but we have one more quick interruption. It is Kendra's birthday. So please help me celebrate her birthday. Let's sing happy birthday together. Wait a minute. Kathy's going to get us on the right tune.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Kendra. Happy birthday to you. We love you.
Thank you, Kendra. I just had to acknowledge her because she's an incredible lady that does so much for this community. All right, speaking of so much for this community, so I want to remind, besides the Gourmet for Gods, which is an incredible event, and I've got a couple of flavors out there myself on the table, but we have the Halloween party coming up, the Boo Bash, and that's going to be at the end of the month. We're doing a costume contest, and this is going to be a big event for us, you guys. We have not had a party, and I don't know when, and so it's time to have a party. So we're going to have the live music from the Bradfords. There's going to be dancing. There's going to be eating, and there's going to be a lot of fun. So please join us on that event. And tickets go on sale today. Yes, in the bookstore. Thank you, Julie. All right, and so everything is available. We have our scrolling information on our slideshow. If you come early, you'll see all that information. We also have it on the website. We also have it on the newsletter. So I'm not going to go over everything. You just need to know that you need to get plugged in because there's a lot to get plugged in here. But there is one other thing I do want to bring to your attention. It's on October the 23rd. Reverend Karen is going to do her free Science of Mind Foundations class. It's on a Sunday after service. And so it'll teach, give you a flavor of what the foundation class is all about. We haven't done this in, I think, at least 3 years, I want to say. It's been about 3 years. And so, again, this is another example that we're getting back into the groove of things, and it's just so exciting. So please come on October the 23rd, right after service, get you a snack, come back in here, and learn all about our spiritual principles, and then take the class with Reverend Karen. It'll change your life. All right, so now that we've had all of our announcements, let's say our vision statement together. We are a loving, joy-filled community honoring the many paths to God as we learn and live the Science of Mind principles. So it is. So if you're new here, I just want to welcome you to this wonderful, fun, exciting, and beautiful, experiential, loving, spiritual home. And so now if you can just sit back, open up your hearts and minds for the Bradford's beautiful message, or beautiful music, and Reverend Karen's beautiful message. Thank you.
So just take a deep breath. Relax in your chair, and we're gonna delve into that peaceful place inside where divine resides.
I will make a quiet place within my heart, and I will wait upon the Lord. Wait upon the Lord.
Be still, my soul, be still. Be still, my soul, be still. Be still and know.
I will make a quiet place within my mind, and I will wait upon the Lord. Wait upon the Lord.
Be still, my soul, be still. Be still, my soul, be still. Be still and know. I will make a quiet quiet place within my life, and I will wait upon the Lord.
Wait upon the Lord.
I will make a quiet place.
And here in this quiet place, this place where love abounds, I know that there is one mind, one heart, one soul, one activity of spirit that lives and moves and has its being in, through, and as me, in, through, and as everyone in this room watching online, in, through, and as everyone everywhere. That power is pure love, peace, joy, happiness, wisdom, clarity, kindness, and compassion, so very much more. And I know that power is the power that is in charge here in this day and in every day. I know that as this service unfolds for each of us, that Reverend Karen's message lifts us and gives us a new way of seeing and a new way of being. That the Bradford's music always opens our hearts and brings us joy. That here in this moment, we open our hearts and minds to receive that beautiful wisdom that will change us immeasurably. So I give thanks for this day. I give thanks for this service, for everyone here, for everyone watching. I know that it is so. And so it is. So my reading today is from one of my, well, I always say it's one of my favorite books, but this one really is. It's A New Design for Living. And it's really one of the easiest books, I think, to read. I love it. So this is from a section called Things Can Change. We need have no concern over the fact that the law of mind in action, when motivated, may produce sickness or health, poverty or abundance, wisdom or unhappiness, or happiness or unhappiness. These things it cannot do of its own accord. The thought has to come first, whether we like it or not. This is the way things are. This is the way the law of mind works. But we should rejoice in this knowledge, for it means that things can change, that no law of its own accord deliberately imposes unwanted situations and conditions upon us. We do not have to resign ourselves to a fate not to our liking. Nothing prescribes that we endure trials and tribulations except for our own thinking. If this were not the case, we would be only automatons, robots, senseless mechanical organisms. But we are individuals. We do have a mind. We do think. We do have consciousness. We do have the power of choice to choose to exercise the creative power of our thought for our good, a choice and a power that is inherent within us. So just allow yourself to take a deep breath and make a choice. So it is.
There's a bright golden haze on the meadow. There's a bright golden haze on the meadow. The corn is as high as an elephant's eye, and it looks like it's climbing clear up to the sky. Oh, what a beautiful morning. Oh, what a beautiful day. Please sing with me. I've got a beautiful feeling. Everything's going my way. All the cattle are standing like statues. All the cattle are standing like statues. They don't turn their heads as they see me ride by. But a little brown maverick is winking her eye. Oh, what a beautiful morning. Oh, what a beautiful day. I've got feeling everything's going my way. All the sounds of the earth are like music. All the sounds of the earth are like music. The breeze is so busy, it don't miss a tree. And an old weeping willow is laughing at me. Oh, what a beautiful morning. Oh, what a beautiful day. I've got a beautiful feeling. Everything's going my way. Oh, what a beautiful day.
Oh, that was lovely. Thank you. Thank you so much. Good morning. Welcome to the West Valley Center for Spiritual Living. I'm Reverend Karen Rice, and I'm so happy to be here today and to see the room is a little fuller every week. It's amazing, and it does feel like there's new, fresh life happening here. You know, Kathy Bradford, I remember when you used to come and bring recorded music and cross your fingers that it would go well. And then one day, you got annoyed with our equipment and you started bringing your own equipment, which wasn't nearly as good as when she started bringing him. And I'm telling you, both Reverend Clyde and I we would actually argue over who's the answer to whose treatment. You are a demonstration for him or me, we're not sure, but I think it was ministry in general. We envisioned we could have what we have today, and we're so grateful. And thank you for being here more frequently. That also was really important to us, to have that consistency. And oh, it's dreamy. And did you notice that Sue and Kathy look alike today? They've got the dress code, and I kind of am perfect in the middle. So the title of my message this morning is Richer or Poorer. And it's not about wedding vows. It has nothing to do with wedding vows. In fact, if couples at the altar would realize it's more of a question, like, which do you want, richer or poorer, not rather than just, oh yeah, I'll take him just the way he is. No, you probably won't. But for richer or poorer is a beautiful invitation to all of us. What will you choose today? Will you choose? My intention is that I can deliver a message that will excite you in some way, that you will be able to leave this sanctuary and go out about your duties of the day and to see what a beautiful morning it truly has been, and to see that there's this gorgeous, lush, abundant universe surrounding us that is just waiting for us to notice. So lovely choice on a fitting piece of music there. I am noticing so much so because my life has been new this year, and in so many ways I've had to make a lot of choices, and I've had to remember to know that it's not between good and bad, that I am only going to choose a path in which my life will flourish, even though it would be really tempting to feel diminishment instead. So we are always choosing, making choices, facing in specific directions, and by those choices and those directions that we face, we are influencing the outcome of our day and how our experiences unfold. Now, when we talk about, so this is a message on a prosperity consciousness, but it's more than talking about finances. The beautiful part about tying in financial freedom in terms of a spiritual teaching is that money is the best example of how we can come to understand prosperity, because all of us attach a lot of energy around our money or our things, you know. Prosperity, however, is about our well-being in a much bigger context. But when we say things like, well, what will it be, richer or poorer? Now we have a whole different kind of energy around the conversation we're about to have. And the bottom line is always looking at revealing what our underlying beliefs really are. Always comes back to the same thing. So here's this amazing quote. Boy, can I just tell you, I found some really fabulous quotes for today's message. I will be quoting Ernest Holmes all morning. He is the founder of this teaching and created a pathway for us to blend our lives in such a way that we honor all paths to God. And we have been emphasizing inclusivity before politics got their little hands on that word and started changing the meaning of it. So listen to these words from Dr. Holmes I found in The Essential Earnest. As long as unconscious thoughts of poverty remain, we are likely to remain poor. We come into this world with a subjective tendency toward conditions. In other words, I did not grow up in the family Sue Witter grew up with, right? My dad, her mother was a professional opera singer, right? Her dad was a professional person. My dad worked in construction. We had totally different lives, right? And so the conditions we are raised in, the family that raises us or rears us, as my English professor would nag me to say, the culture that you were born into, or the place on the planet in which you were born, all of those things have a subjective tendency toward the kinds of conditions you're going to experience in your living. However, he says, and it's a big however, we must not forget that we are also dealing with a subjective tendency toward ultimate good. See, that comes to us because we are born into this part human, part divine. There's no way you can separate from us the creative intelligence that keeps us alive. And so our invitation this morning is to begin to just notice how absolutely lush and lavish life is, that there is an overflowing sense of opulence everywhere around us, but it only becomes real when we notice it, when we name it, when we pay attention to it, when we breathe it in, just like that, Deborah, when we stop and we go, oh yeah, and we breathe it in and we feel it just all the way through us. So we are speaking today about exposing our unconscious thoughts of poverty, the ways in which we might be limiting ourselves without realizing it, to tap down deeper into, and with a willingness to look at what we believe about, and this is what I like to call it, enoughness. What's your relationship to enoughness? We're surrounded by enough. Most of us have enough, but we're so seldom stop and pause and breathe that in and think about it, and especially to think of it beyond just being a financial thing. The root of all limitation has to do with that consciousness. So we want to pay close attention to it, shine some light on it, and as Holmes would say, so now here's where I take liberties, because I've been in ministry a while now, so I take some liberties. This is how I imagine Holmes would say it. He would say, some days it's nice Noli's not sitting there wanting me to be proper. I love you, Reverend Noli. I can see her laughing when I say this, but here's how I think Dr. Holmes might say it. If you think you want it and you don't have it, whatever it is, somewhere in your own thinking is a belief that reinforces why you don't got it. Okay, so that's a little, that's my comfortableness with a little slang. But remember, it's everything. If you think you don't have enough love in your life, then what's the underlying belief that stops you from opening yourself to receive more love in your life? And you could take that in any direction with any theme of the kinds of things that pop up in your own little mind while you're alone with your own thoughts. What I was thinking about this morning, or when I was writing the message and a lot this morning, is the word plenty. Plenty is the theme of what we're talking about today. Not enough. Enoughness, if you define it through a lens of plenty, looks very different than if you're defining it through a lens of, well, maybe there'll be enough. Right? It's a completely different word now. It changes everything. And whenever I think about plenty, I think of my mother's horn of plenty. Did you ever have it? How many of you had a horn of plenty, or you still maybe do? My mother had a horn of plenty. Cornucopia is the formal word for it. And it has such great meaning of overflow and that big fall harvest. So do you know what a cornucopia is?
Now I do.
Okay, I'm gonna give you even a better illustration. You look for the youngest people sitting here, and then you pick on them. So Mother would always get the fall decor out of the cupboard before the Christmas stuff, right? You have to do it in the proper order. And so my mother had a wicker horn of plenty, a little wicker basket, and it had a little curve in it, and it had little feet so it could stand flat on the table. And she would put it on the kitchen table because, unlike Sue Witter, we didn't have a dining room table. Did you have a dining room table? In my world, everybody had a kitchen table. We didn't even have a dining room, and we loved sitting around the kitchen table, which you probably did too, right? Oh, okay. All right. There was no good like that in my life. But we didn't miss it because we didn't know it, right? We had a very full, gorgeous life. Now I have a dining room table that I use to sort things on, like everybody else. Especially good for church projects. It's really big. So Mother would get out the cornucopia, and she would always put it first on a doily. Did your mom put it on a doily too? You had to put it on a doily. You had to put it on a doily, and it would be really nice if she had one that somebody crocheted, or at the very least, it would be something that had been hand embroidered with a little lace around the edges. But it would sit there, and what's the first thing you do when you're filling up the cornucopia? What's the first thing you put in it? No, you got to put something on the bottom of it first so you get the nuts. You got to go to the grocery store. Mom would go to Mayflower Market, and before they had plastic, it was the paper bags, and she would get that scooper and she would fill it with the pretty, beautiful colored nuts. My favorite nuts were the almonds. And everything had to be cracked, and so for the whole season, from about now until after Thanksgiving, when she would clear everything away for Christmas, we would have this big pile of nuts, so they would spill out of the horn of plenty and all around the doily and the table, and I have distinct memories of people sitting around the table, my aunts and uncles and my mom and my dad, and Mother would have the nutcrackers out the whole season, and you would crack nuts and eat them and, talk, and it was just part of the pleasure. So there were nuts on the bottom, and then there was fresh fruit. Usually in my house it was apples and tangerines because my dad didn't like bananas, so we never put bananas in it. And then the decorative, like the squashes that I don't think anybody actually eats them, but they're so attractive, I still buy them. I just like how they look. I guess they're sentimental to me. So we would have this beautiful cornucopia on the table, and the cornucopia is a symbol of almost of excess. It is. I see what I forgot to do today. The word cornucopia is Latin, and it comes from the story in Greek mythology. And in Greek mythology, when Zeus was an infant, now Zeus was the king of all the gods in mythology, and there's a lot of gods in mythology. So they had a goat's horn that would be filled with everything that this future king would need to nourish him. And so more than 3,000 years ago, that goat's horn, which was called a cornucopia, became a symbol of plenty. It had to do with a hearty harvest and abundance and having more than enough of everything you need to be nourished readily available. So isn't it a lovely symbol to think, when I think of my parents sitting around cracking walnuts and cleaning them away and making piles of shells from the nuts. It's a lovely symbol that has lasted through generations. More than enough, always more than enough. Our good always overflowing. So as I looked for quotes to support the message this morning, I found this fabulous bit of wisdom from Dr. Holmes. It stirred me, and I hope it stirs you a little bit too, because it feels rather exciting to me. Holmes said this comes from Words That Heal Today. We need to love the wealth of God as much as we love the wisdom of God. We need to love the wealth of God as much as we love the wisdom of God. So we have this reverence for the Word of God. We have reverence for spiritual wisdom, or wisdom in general. But he's adding this really clever way. He's saying that the wealth of God, calling us to think of the beauty, the physical things that surround us naturally in life, these God-given gifts that announce to us again and again that there is this thriving of life that is ongoing, that there's intelligence in plants and trees and animals. In every way we look, we need to appreciate that. We need to appreciate the physical as well as the spiritual. And as physical human beings, there's some importance in us hearing that. And then he goes on to say this. His eternal abundance, God's eternal abundance surrounds us at every instant, but we can partake of it only as we can accept it as our own. You can't have it if you don't accept it somehow as your own. So I can see there can be beauty all around me. But if I do not pause to observe it, to take it in and accept it as my own, I will never have an experience of it. And so there's such beautiful wisdom in this. And then he goes on. So I thought when he said that, you have to accept it as your own. Well, how do we do that? It's always my next question. And then he gives this gorgeous wisdom. The way we accept it is by acknowledging, the first thing we do is that we acknowledge that we are sons and daughters of God. Now we see there's this lineage. There's this inherent gift that is freely given to us. And the question is, can we receive it? And he beautifully goes on to say, and we are equipped to receive and to dispense this universal goodness. Ooh, I think that's the part of the sentence that really gets me. We are created in such a way that we really are equipped to receive, but not just receive and dispense the universal goodness. Oh my gosh, now this gets way bigger than me. This gets way bigger than you just receiving your good. This is way bigger than us talking about being richer or poorer, because something else is now unfolding in a really beautiful way. Universal goodness. Equal amounts available to each and every one of us. So what we're hearing here, and he says this in so many ways, but I want you to really pay close attention, is that when we accept what's ours, it begins to flow. See, if I open myself to receive, then whatever that goodness, that universal goodness is, has to flow my way. I have to align myself to be in that current. And then that movement of life is flowing through me. And that's how life works. When we accept it, then that spiritual truth, whatever it might be, then it begins to operate through us. It expresses in the world through us. And this is why it's bigger than just receiving your good. It makes us become a vessel or an instrument. It gives us a deeper understanding of what it means when we say things like, Lord, make me an instrument of your peace. Fill me up with that peace so that I can be the vessel that then brings it to the world, that it can express through me, that it can be alive on this planet. So once we understand this is why the great thinkers and many ministers in our movement, I've heard them say things like, gratitude, notice it, give thanks for it, whatever it is. Be grateful for it, because gratitude is the anointing of increase. It's like we take a bucket, you want water from the well, in homestay it would have been a pump, right? You take your bucket and then you fill up your bucket till it overflows. The pump has no opinion about it. Everything you need is provided, but you got to get your bucket there to get filled up. So that's our job, to posture ourselves in alignment with that flow of life, to get our bucket under the faucet, to allow life to fill us with universal goodness. See, we fill up so we can give back, right? He said receive and dispense. This is the law of circulation. It is not two spiritual practices, it is one. You give and you receive, and you give and you receive. You have that flow moving. So it's not about hoarding. It's not about collecting or saving. It's not so that I don't collect so that I can have a better life. I collect because then I know I am a part of how that universal goodness gets to the world. It can only get there through us. And so that's how we do our part. It's a very staunch reminder in a really practical way that sharing is a necessary part of life. It's a part of why belonging has an essence of value to all of us. I think of the basics, that the trees breathe and they exhale the oxygen we need, and we breathe that in, and we exhale the carbon dioxide they need. It's the why behind the, if you're like me and you like those nature shows on TV, I keep thinking of the Africa, a picture of a rhino with a little bird on his back. You notice how they always have a little bird on their back? That's because in nature, those animals, zebras, all of those four-legged critters like that, the birds eat the insects because they're hungry and that's in their diet. But the zebras don't want those ticks and those blood-sucking flies that bite them. They don't want them, so that nature brings them together and they complement each other, and that's the way life is working all the time. We just somehow don't notice that there are ways that we are all here for each other. Life is one giant partnership. It's fabulous. So let me take you back to that quote where Holmes said, we need to love the wealth of God as much as we love the wisdom of God. From there, he begins to elaborate on the idea of abundance. And these are the quotes that really tickle me. He says this: the universe is abundant. It's unlimited in every aspect. The fish in the ocean lay so many eggs that if ever they all hatched at the same time, the waters would overflow. I love that one. The stars are beyond counting. The leaves on the trees continue to multiply. Nature is lavish and abundant. Let us not lose sight of that. Our job is to notice it. Our job is to name it, to talk about it, to partake of it, and to be amazed by it. When was the last time something in nature amazed you? When was the last time something very simple amazed you? Would you care to share? What was it that amazed you, Mr. Fred?
We left the restaurant after breakfast.
Left the restaurant.
Here on the driver's side with a big grasshopper.
Giant grasshopper?
We took off to home, and that grasshopper stayed on that mirror.
All right, so they were eating out, got in the car, driving home, and they see a giant grasshopper on the mirror, and somehow the grasshopper, do they have little suction things on their feet? Because I saw one on my, they're big this year. They like that monsoon, I'm pretty sure. Yeah. So look for something this week. Look for something on your drive home, some way to be amazed by something you normally wouldn't even notice. It'll change your day. It'll change your week. It can change your life. Dr. Holmes said this: prosperity awaits our recognition and our acceptance of it. Prosperity awaits our recognition and our acceptance of it. So we're building a story here. Do you hear the story we're telling? You hear the story we're telling today? It starts with you, right? We are sons and daughters of God. It starts at the very beginning, right? And then it tells us that we are given this cornucopia of nourishment, of possibilities, of ways we are supported by this big, beautiful universe and an intelligent, loving God. And then we're invited to notice how well supplied we are so that we appreciate it, and then it can appreciate. That goodness increases, and that we receive and we dispense this universal goodness. That's a pretty potent story we are telling, and you can take that home with you. Now, I wanted to wrap it up today by, hit me. This was just way too fun not to do, so we're going to do it. I noticed while I was thumbing through all these quotes on prosperity and abundance and the lavishness of life, I kept finding these quotes from Dr. Holmes that they were humorous to me. They made me laugh. So I thought, you know what? We need to have this in our minds when we leave today. So I'm going to give you three quotes that are, you just should not miss these quotes. They are so good. Some of them, it's hard to imagine Ernest Holmes saying this stuff, but man, he could be funny and he could be to the point. So the first one is probably my favorite. He said people used to always ask him, so hey, you're talking about doing treatment and you're talking about affirmations, and if I affirm something a whole bunch of times that I could manifest something a whole bunch of times, so let me ask you this, Dr. Holmes, can I become a millionaire by affirming I have $1 million? Don't answer. Don't let me hear your answer. You might be surprised by what he said. Can I become a millionaire simply by affirming I have $1 million? What do you think he said? How many think he said yes? How many think he said no? Well, it's a pretty even split. No, nothing could be further from the truth, he says. Then he goes on to go, well, sort of, but no. He said, people miss a fundamental premise. Spirit can do for us only that which it does through us. So first, if you want that to be your reality, first you have to learn to receive, right? You could say 100 million cajillion affirmations about being a millionaire till the cows come home. And then if you do not believe it, you cannot receive it. right? It's no amount of repeating magical words that makes that stuff happen. So he says, it's receive, it's dispense. Are you an open vessel? Remember, the law of circulation is one whole. It's not two things, it's all one. Okay, quote number 2. This is also quite good. I love them all. He says, whether your funds be great or small, sounds like a poem. Sounds like I'm about to read. A priest and a rabbi walked into a bar. Whether your funds be great or small, you need to get all possible pleasure and satisfaction out of them. Whether you have a lot of money or you have a little bit of money, you need to get all the pleasure. You need to get all the satisfaction out of what's right there in front of you, right? If you are fearful about spending, so it kind of is leaning into hoarding. So I have, just so you know, I have been forgiven for the hoarding I did during the time I wasn't supposed to hoard. I have special privileges, I guess, as a minister, but and I'm not hoarding anymore. I'm doing much better. If you are fearful about spending, and I think we've all been there recently, we've been through a kind of a weird world. Or if you are counting too carefully, you are counting your money too carefully, you are limiting yourself and you are restricting your good. Oh, what a thought. And then he goes on, and it all makes sense when he says this. We must develop a feeling of abundance first. Then go count your money. Then balance your checkbook, but get yourself square first. Get yourself grounded and know the truth about the flow of goodness, of that universal goodness on this planet and in your life. So he's saying, nurture a feeling of pleasure before you do any of those tasks, and it will make a huge difference. I think that that's what I notice most as I watch people take classes here and I see people begin to embody a prosperity consciousness. There's something that happens that seems contraindicated, but it's like there's a loosening up as we begin to trust the flow of life. And then the third and the final one I wanted to share with you is it's really a hoot because it starts with a lot of negativity. And you know how we're all so superstitious here. You're just like, oh, no, we don't say negative words. We don't, But he starts this quote in this way. Never, never, never. Isn't that great? It makes me laugh just to think of Holmes going, never, never, never. Third for emphasis, never. Never hand over your money in payment for anything grudgingly. Oh, there's something to think about. Because there are times where you just really didn't want to invest that money in that direction to fix that just broke. Never hand your money over grudgingly. And he goes beautifully into why. He says, make every transaction of mutual goodwill, whether it's great or small. The habit of silently blessing your money as you hand it over is a habit worth cultivating. The habit of silently blessing your money before you hand it over is worth cultivating. And do you know why? He actually goes on to say why. Because it carries an intangible value that returns to you. So what happens when we're resentful about spending or sharing or whatever has come up that's caused an exchange of money? You're choosing the energy attached to it, and that energy then returns. Weren't those fun? Just like I love those little unexpected quotes. So we've said some things this morning. We said some really important things. I love that there are still, when the money counters still receive a few checks. A lot of people don't write checks anymore, but I notice there are still people that write, "Thank you, God," at the bottom of their check, right? There's a way that we are blessing. We are freely giving, and therefore we are circulating. We are helping that beautiful flow of circulation and helping increase in every way. Remember, it's more than just something for you. It becomes a universal goodness. I love that point. So check in this week. Notice. Look, be willing to look at any undiscovered beliefs you have around finances or your prosperity, the flow of money and things in your life, and then allow yourself to see that it's bigger than just the energy of money. It's an energy we carry with us all the time. It's an atmosphere of your own belief, and it shows up in every way, in the nature of your own existence. So remember, you are a child of God. You are worthy. You are deserving. Yes, just breathe that in. And let's be grateful. Let's just be really, really grateful. So take a breath. I think we should pray on these ideas. So much to think about. And as we just listen for a moment to the beautiful movement of piano keys, and we feel that sound moving, rippling through our bodies, reminding us that everything is perfect just as it is. That there is a presence and a power, and it's right here. It's in this room, wherever we may be seated at the time of these words being spoken. It's right where we are. And it's in the walls of this sanctuary, deep at the core of our own being, the presence of infinite intelligence. The movement of life itself. For it is true that we live and move and have our being in this Godness, in this divine truth of all reality, that there is one absolute, there is one first cause, one infinite knower, and we are one with it. And so I feel that activity of spirit within me. And I know that it is the same action of life within each person at the sound of my voice. In fact, in all living things. God, that one mind, that infinite source of all good. And so how absolutely blessed we are this day to realize yet again that there are miracles everywhere around us, that there are ways that life sustains us that we haven't ever noticed, that there is a partnership and a relationship, each thing in perfect order with the very next thing. And that we belong in such a way to this human race, this consciousness of humanity that continues to move through challenges and change, even while something magnificent is emerging on this planet at this very time. And so I am grateful. I am grateful for this spiritual community and the way that this spiritual community demonstrates a prosperity consciousness that supports our place in the West Valley, that we can sustain a building, and that we can staff a ministry, that we can come together again and have fun and have social activities that we share, that we can do good things in the world like carrying our donations to the treasures for teachers, so that wisdom can ripple out and move beyond just these walls and beyond just this message, to know that each one makes a difference. And so I feel that sense of absolute amazement within me, that there are ways we know how to move on this highway of life and stay in the lane that is ours and honor the paths that are different than ours. And we do it so perfectly. Sometimes we do it with great laughter. Sometimes it stirs us with emotion. And always it invites us to grow, to evolve, to continue to expand our minds and our thoughts, to rise in a consciousness that creates a better place for all living things. So I say thank you, God. Thank you, life. How grateful I am to be renewed in spiritual wisdom yet again this day. And it is with that thankful thought that I simply release the words of this prayer into that law, knowing it is already done. And today, together we say, and so it is. Amen.
Grateful, grateful, grateful for all the love that I have. I am so grateful, grateful, grateful for all the love that I have. Everywhere I look and every face I see is love reflected, shining back to me. I just give thanks for all these simple things, the joy and peace that gratitude brings. That's why I'm grateful, grateful, grateful for all the love that I have. I am so grateful, grateful, grateful for all the love that I have.
Oh, yes. Thank you, Bradfords. So I have to share a miracle that I experience every year in my backyard. I don't water them. I never planted them, but the weeds keep showing up. So thank you for that miracle. All right, and I want to remind everybody that next Saturday, not everybody, the men, we have dining with the dudes that we're serving lunch next Sunday, but next Saturday we have breakfast with the dudes where we have fellowship, so if you can join us with that. And one last reminder again to come over and join us and look at all the wonderful meals that we're going to have for Gourmet for God. You can just shop around and look. You don't have to decide today. So now is the time to celebrate the abundance of our community, the abundance of our lives, and the abundance of our meals. So please join me in saying our giving affirmation together. I live in a consciousness of good. Divine love blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. Thank you, God, and so it is.
Please rise for our last song.
Here we go.
Oh, it feels so good to be alive. Now let me hear you. Oh, it feels so good to be alive. I ain't thinking about my problems. I'm living now. I'm living now. And I ain't gonna worry about the future. I'm living now. I'm living now. So put your hands up if you feel like having a good time. Put your hands up if you're sharing love with all. Raise your cup if you're hopeful for tomorrow. Put your hands up if you're ready to have some fun. Now sing it. Oh, 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 it feels so good to be alive. Feels good, don't it? Feels good, don't it? Only got one life, live in the moment. Feels good, don't it? Feels good, don't it? Only got one life, live in the moment. Feels good, don't it? Feels good, don't it? Only got one life, live in the moment. Feels good, don't it? Feels good, don't it? Only got one life, live. Oh, 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 it feels so good to be alive. Oh, 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 it feels so good to be alive. One more time. Oh, 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 it feels so good to be alive. Woo.
Oh, yes, it feels good to live. I just have to share something with you real quick. So Reverend Karen has her notes up here, which are really beautiful and sometimes hard to read. But at the end of her notes, she always writes, end. Stop. Yes. I saw that. That was really cute. All right, so let's say our closing affirmation together. I accept my good as I express good in the world. And so it is.